Hey, thanks for joining us today. We're with Mike Brewer. He's the CEO of Brewer Companies. We're going to talk about how he started with a two-man shop to over 300 employees, becoming the #1 plumbing contractor in Arizona. I'm Josh Farley, president of Redline Electric and Solar. Join me as we talk to contractors, business owners, and experts who are willing to share their experiences to help you overcome obstacles when you're taking your business up and to the right. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks
Why don't
for
you
having
tell us? Tell us about a two-man shop. How did that start?
28 years ago. I worked for a neighbor of mine. Worked for him for 12 years, and ended up he wanted to retire. He'd done well in life, and was ready to move on to bigger and better things. So I was given the opportunity. And on Friday there was 4 of us working in the field 5 days a week, and it went from that to the following Monday, 2 of us in the field 4 days a week.
So you were a plumber.
Yes, plumbing.
And your neighbor was like, let's start something, or he
had probably, I'm not sure how long he'd been in business, probably 20 years.
Okay.
And so just a matter of, thought I was buying the name and everything, and ultimately at the last minute he kept the name, and so I started up as Brewer and Brewer Enterprise actually, but it doesn't tell you what we do. So
right.
Over the years we've branded it around to the your residential plumbing, your professional plumbing contractor, I guess. Your professional plumbing contractor. And so that's how we strive to operate. Once you put that in your card, it kind of is interesting how you have to make decisions and think about what would a professional do.
Right.
And so it's been very helpful to kind of steer us where we've come from.
Separates you from the other guys that are just doing plumbing.
Well, we like to think so.
Right. They show up in an unmarked van and shorts and flip-flops.
We have some good competitors out there, but yeah,
right.
There are those as well.
For sure. So let's talk about getting to the first million. What kind of struggles did you see? I know it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But what kind of struggles did you have, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I guess the first struggle was just educating myself on being actually a contractor, not just a plumber.
Right.
I was a really good technician, really good at what I did. And when I did start, I knew that we were going to do this, so I actually went back and went to the community college here in town, did a couple of accounting classes at night. I was always a numbers guy anyway in school, but gave me a good refresher, gave me a little bit of understanding of how business actually operates and numbers-wise. And so when I started up, again, as I said, I had myself and one guy, so it's probably the first, 6 or 8 hires were interesting.
Right.
But the biggest challenge I really faced as a new contractor, if you will, over the first probably 2 years I was in business was understanding, even though I'd taken the accounting courses, understood, I thought, numbers and overheads, really was how that all tied together into how you estimate and what you come up with the final number. We were doing track homes, and so whatever there are 5 models, you price those models for the 100, 200 homes you did were based on those prices.
Right.
And if you weren't good on your pricing, and over time I found out I wasn't good on my pricing, that it becomes a real challenge to operate a business.
For
and
sure.
So that was probably my toughest struggle early on. And what I found was a lot of good people in town that worked for the builders I worked for, but there were some at the time that maybe weren't so, they had a job to do and they were budget oriented, and if they could get a price point lower than the next guy, they were pushing that. I wasn't astute enough to understand what they were doing, and probably did some jobs that they told me I was high on. Whether I was or not, I don't know, but
Right.
I lowered my price, and that caused me some conflict. So 28 years in business, effectively probably had 3 real challenges over those 28 years. The first time was a couple years in business. I got introduced to a consulting accounting firm here in town, and they helped me understand they loved everything about the business except one number on my estimating Excel sheet, I guess.
Right.
And that was what you needed to have in to cover your overheads. And so we cleaned that up, and that helped me start marching out of my first downturn, a couple $100,000 in debt. And I had good relationships with my suppliers, so it's important to have a good relationship with the people that supply product to you. Be open with them. What I found was being completely an open book was important.
Yeah.
They understood that I wasn't stealing from my company to live a life. I had a paycheck that I lived on. Right. It was more of a fundamental business problem. and understanding of business, and they allowed me to learn and continue to do business.
I think a lot of guys forget about that. They're just out there, they're working at a company, making 25, 30 bucks an hour, whatever, if they're the top guy, and then, those are the guys that start their own business. They're like, oh, I could do it better. I'll just add a couple, $10, $20 to my wage, and now they're out in business doing, $40, $50 an hour work, but they're not covering insurance, overhead, gas, fuel, anything for the future, and they're killing us on that.
Yep. Well, the challenge with that is, you said it, they have a job, they don't have a company.
Right.
But they're making more money than they ever made in their life. And the problem with it is legitimate, or I don't want to call them not legitimate, they're doing the best they know how to do.
Sure.
And they think they're doing it right. And the challenge is, the other contractors that have all those costs, that are trying to provide benefits for employees, that's who you're competing with. And so the low guy kind of sets the bar in the marketplace. And that's a challenge. That's a problem.
Right.
And so I say it, I'm just in a conversation this morning, love to train young men to have a trade. And I talk about it as it's, the first step in the American dream. And what I mean by that is, you can go into the trades, you can learn the trade, no one can take that from you. You can come to a point in life where you say, hey, I think I can do this on my own. And you plop down, $300, $400, you pass a test to get the registrar or contractor to get your license. You go get an LLC for under $100 and you're in business. Right. The problem with that is technically you're in business, but you don't know business yet.
Right.
And so from my perspective is, hey, love to mentor young men that decide that's the path they want to go down. Because I stepped in a lot of holes. It took me a lot of dollars and cost to learn how to be a bigger business operator. Well, and so I learn something new every day.
Yeah, me too. I think that learning the skill as a business owner is the next step. I used to tell people I masqueraded as a business owner because I was just an electrician and I didn't know some things I still don't know what I'm doing. I lean on guys that like you or my accountant to help me out. We're always constantly growing and we're trying to get better as a team. So it's a skill set. So I used to be good with my hands. I used to be in the field all the time and I loved building things. Now I'm not in the field anymore, but I still am building a business, which has given me that, it's given me the ability to still love to build something, So you talked about 3 problems. We talked about the first one. What was your second one?
Probably when that transition from being, trying to be Superman and do the whole thing, estimating, manage the receivables, payable, just the one-man operator.
Yeah.
I had a right-hand guy that was in the field. We grew initially to about 10 or 12 guys. Probably did that pretty well. It was the second growth spurt that really caused some pain, and we went from about 15 guys. My model's kind of a unique model, so I don't have to buy a lot of trucks and things, so we could hire people. It went from about 15 guys to about 45 guys, probably in about 6-8 months, and was not prepared physically, capable, didn't have the support staff to do that, and that's really when I got in trouble the first time. There's a whole culmination of things that caused that. But those additional costs, incremental that we think they are, and I already have that overhead covered. Not when you add that many people at once, you don't. And so it really was about, how do I get more leaders in the company? And that was a big challenge. And for me as a small contractor, the natural mindset is nobody can do it as well as I can do it, so I'll just do it myself. Well,
we don't think like that.
Well, there's only, you only be in one place at one time, only
sure.
doing one thing at a time. And so understanding and realizing that, man, I need to make this higher, but I can't afford to make that higher. Well, you can't afford not to.
Right.
You got to cover it in your overheads. It's an additional cost. It takes care of itself, frankly. There's a little bit of cost up front as long as you recognize those costs and you know that, hey, going forward, I have to change my cost structure. I have to bid that in.
Right.
Then it catches itself up very quickly. And so then you can't afford that person.
So there wasn't a lot of pain in that spot. Because I talked to contractors yesterday. I said, we need a guy to run our service department, and how do I afford that?
The pain that goes with it is finding the right people.
Right.
And so I went through several people, understanding that, oh man, this, like, you interview somebody and it sounds good. I don't even know what I'm interviewing for, but they sound like they know what they're doing, and so you hire them.
Right.
But you don't realize they don't know what they're doing for maybe a couple of months even.
Right.
And so that was a big challenge for me. I think to do it over, I'd probably reach out to outside networks about, hey, I got this need. Do you know anybody that can do that?
Right.
Instead of me doing it on my own, I would actually reach out to other people that are in the business, accountants, other contractors, maybe even some customers, to find if they know anybody that may be looking for the particular role I'm looking to fill.
Gotcha.
Because again, I'm talking more about support roles, not necessarily technical roles.
Right.
That's a different type hire. But getting as much help around those hires as I could probably would be where I'd lean on today more so than I ever did.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm struggling myself. I'm looking for that role, but you have to be deliberate on what that role entails, because like you said, I've brought people on before and it's been, months, and I'm like, we're not seeing any success. Why not? If you don't know as the owner what you're responsible for, it's hard to hold your team accountable. So it's like I was in the dark on a couple of things, and when we went to try to bring in a sales leader, I don't have a strong sales background. So how am I supposed to know if what he's doing is, if he's doing his job?
It absolutely is a challenge, and it's a challenge for every size business. I mean, I'm in the same boat with one of the companies. So we're Brewer Company's new residential plumbing contractor. This year we'll build roughly 6,000 houses in Arizona. We have a Benjamin Franklin service repair company, and that is a completely separate entity. And in that entity, we face these struggles all the time. So we're been in business a long time, but we still have these same struggles, finding the right people to fill the roles and having a very defined role that you can actually hold them accountable to.
Right.
That's huge.
Obviously, we're both in the same construction industry or that type of field. There's a construction science, and I think that it gets overlooked as far as when you talk to society about people that work in the trades. We're kind of like the scum of the earth. I don't know why, but it's not. It doesn't appeal to people. They it's like, oh, if you don't go to college, you're a deadbeat. But I didn't go to college, and I'm running $1 million business.
So you hit a real hot button for me. It's where I spend most of my time today.
Right.
And very much so. I came out of high school, wanted nothing to do with college. Loved working with my hands. Had an opportunity with a neighbor of mine, so I literally graduated a week off and started my career. And that was 40 years ago. Much as I hate to say it, but I've learned a lot in 40 years. But the biggest challenge we face is, that, for whatever reason, these trades used to be an esteemed job to hold.
Right.
You built things, you allowed us to operate as a society the way we do, live as close to one another as we do without having, disease and everything else going on, especially with the plumbing piece of it. But, we create this convenience that everyone takes for granted today. And for some reason along the way, my opinion is that, the education community has done a great job since the late 70s of pushing that everyone needs a college education. And like you, I didn't go to college, didn't want anything to do with college, as I said. Now, when I decided that, hey, I was going to buy this business, I understood I needed to educate myself, and so there was a purpose that I went to college for. I took a couple accounting classes, took some small business classes, got a little bit of background. The most important one I took was accounting by far. But when I drive from your office in Tempe to North Phoenix, I pay attention to the billboards. And from your office to my office, I will guarantee I'll see at least 10 billboards talking about ASU, U of A, NAU, Grand Canyon, all education related.
Right.
I don't see a single one that say anything about you ought to consider the trades.
Right.
And so we've done a terrible job of not showing up, not marketing the opportunities that exist in the trades today. Right. And I argue that you come into the trades today, especially if you're wanting to be a technician, there's more opportunity today. You'll be paid at a higher rate than any time ever since I've been in it, for sure, because there's such a demand, such a lack of participating or people that are willing to participate and learn a trade. And I argue with an attorney that I actually hired to help me work on this, and he says, you guys just got to face the facts. Nobody wants these jobs. And I argue with him all the time. It's like, it's not that nobody wants these jobs, it's that people don't know the opportunity that exists. And I talk about, it's about outcomes. You come to work for me. I've got a young man right now. He's been with me for 2 years. We trained him for about 6 months. He made $60,000 last year. He's 23 years old. No debt. We paid him to learn what he does.
Right.
And it's on him. How hard he works is how much money he makes. It's not an hourly job.
Right.
And so that's a success story in anybody's book. I don't care who you are.
For sure.
Changed his family tree, literally. We had this conversation about where he was headed, and now that he had this opportunity, and he got married last year, paid for his own honeymoon, own wedding, bought a new truck. They're looking to buy a house.
Right.
2 years ago, he was working for a car wash on a manager's track, which means he was working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, which is about $8 an hour, and had no future. He had no time, he had nothing, he couldn't do anything, didn't have the dollars to do anything.
Because they don't know.
And so he quit it and came and gave himself an opportunity. We gave him a chance.
Right.
And he's a success story. He's been doing it 2 years, making over $60,000.
Yeah, it's possible in any trade, especially right now. We're so busy. They're knocking down our door trying to get us to do the work, but we can't because we just don't have the guys. So you're involved.
That's
in
actually
something.
another problem.
Yeah.
Talk about is don't take more work than you can actually do. Creates a lot of stress.
That's problem number 3.
It tends to make you do things that you're not prepared to do in the way of growth. So understand your capacities and work within those capacities and slowly grow your business.
So have you struggled with something like that? Let's say you get into a project and then the workforce kind of disappears, or they get poached from another contractor?
Well, some of that. The real big thing recently that's gone on in the downturn, everything changed, and there are tract homes all over the valley, but maybe building less than 1 a month, starting less than 1 a month. And as the market came back, all of a sudden it went to 2 a month, and then 2.5, and then 3. Well, we had a whole bunch of subdivisions because at 1 a month, we needed a whole bunch. We were a lot smaller company at the time, but as the marketplace itself, demand grew so fast, trying to keep up with that demand was tough. And so we had, it's been going now for about 4, nearly 5 years. The first 3 years, we struggled. We threw a lot of dollars, meaning a lot of people at problems, and tried to grow to keep up. And if I hire someone, it means someone else lost them. Everybody that does what we do is at full capacity right now. And so we backed off. We actually went from 28 builders 2 years ago to, I believe, we're currently actively working for 11 builders.
Gotcha.
We have 3 or 4 more that we're finishing up some projects for, but we're not actively bidding any additional work.
Gotcha.
The growth is great, but if you're not making money doing it, why are you doing it? Right. So let's back up, let's reset, let's work within our capacity, let's grow our capacity. So November 1st, we actually have a first formal training class. We have 18 young men that we're going to begin training, and that'll be a net add to the pool.
That's for brewer companies?
And that's for the brewer companies.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So those are all apprentices?
You can consider them that, yeah.
Gotcha. We run an apprenticeship program. Let's talk about the Phoenix Chamber, the program that you're involved in, and let's get that word out for them.
No, it's the last couple of years I've spent a lot of time around the construction trade workforce development piece. And what it's culminated in is I was invited to co-chair a group with the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, the largest chamber in the state. They're actually managing a program. We're right now in the midst of trying to raise funds from anyone that has skin in the game, so to speak. So subcontractors, suppliers, manufacturers, but we're trying to put a pool together, both on the residential and commercial side together, and basically to put together a marketing campaign. It's a 3-year campaign. And so if you sign up, it's a commitment for this year, next year, and the following year for whatever amount you're willing to contribute. And what that is all going to culminate in is a statewide marketing campaign that basically talks about the opportunities that exist in the trades today. Again, I go all the way back to the education department's done a great job, or that community's done a great job of saying, hey, everyone needs a college education. We're not even competing. We're not even showing up to the kids that are out there trying to figure out what they want to do with life. And so if we can have this marketing campaign aimed at the kids, yeah, but bigger than that is the parents, the grandparents, the brothers and sisters these kids are living with, that say, hey, maybe you ought to consider that. Maybe college isn't right for you.
Right.
And, again, I'm a big education supporter. It's what's the education you're going to get.
Well, that's the thing. The billboards say, go to college, but they don't say, go to college for this or do this.
And so the whole thing with the Greater Phoenix Chamber is there's actually, I'll get you an address, web address that people, if they're interested, take a look at. If they'd like to participate, just learn more about what we're up to. They can go follow the link, and it'll give you a whole rundown on exactly where we're at. We're literally just launched fundraising to do it. We're looking to, they state publicly $1 million. I think it needs to be $2 million. Unfortunately, I buy marketing in the Phoenix market, and it's extremely expensive to buy marketing in town.
Right.
And to be effective, I think we need a bigger budget than what they've declared. The $1 million will do it. You'll just be in certain places.
Right. So there you have it. Follow the link. Do something for yourself. It's only going to help us all. Rising seas raise all ships.
And any amount, literally. I mean, it gives some suggested amounts.
Sure.
And some things you get for those amounts. But hey, if you're a small business just starting out, you want to be a part of the solution. If $100 a year is all you can afford, $100 a year it is. $500, $1,000.
Right.
We're open to any kind of contribution, because if you think that $500 isn't anything, well, if you don't put it in, it's nothing. If you put it in, at least it's another $500.
For sure.
And so, there's the largest contributor to date is $50,000 contributor, all the way down to, I think there's down to 1,000. And so everything in between.
Gotcha.
So we're well on our way, and I'd love to invite everybody that, watching this, go look at it, check out, see if it interests you, if you think it matters to the future of your business, the workforce that you're going to be hiring as you grow your business, I would recommend participating.
For sure, got to do it. You ever think about quitting?
Actually, I don't. I don't know what retirement looks like. I have 3 sons that are in the business behind me, but they're probably at least 10 years away from being able to actually manage the business.
Gotcha.
I don't plan on working that long or being effectively involved day to day. I think it goes back to, and it's longer than we have time today to talk about, but it's about building a team, building an executive team that allows you to have the autonomy to go out and do things that you really are passionate about. Mine is the workforce, construction trade workforce development.
And if you didn't do this, what would you do?
Man, I don't know. I love to hunt and fish. I do that a
Right.
little bit, but it's about, for me, it's about family. And when I think about family, I have my immediate family and that lived and grew up with me, but my work family. And it's as I talk to people in the company, it's the decision we make, good or bad, allow 1,500 mouths to eat daily.
Right.
And so we have to be very careful about how we steward the company, the decisions we make, the people we work for, the offers that we're involved with, to make sure that we have a viable, powerful company
Right.
that they can know and trust is going to be there tomorrow for them.
Amen. Well, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
You're doing a great job. Appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of Mike, how do they get a hold of you? Or
Yeah,
can
that's a challenge. No, actually, I'll throw my cell number out there. It's 602-909-9677. But no, that or my email address is mike.brewer@brewercompanies.com.
Perfect. All right, thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Mike? Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe to our podcast at iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to see more episodes. Go to upandtothe right.org to get all the links.